Welcome back to Cosmic Konnectionz, where the ethereal meets the tangible, mysteries unravel, and souls connect. You guys, as you guys already know, we have a very special guest with us tonight, and that is Shri Neptune, which I'm super excited to tap in. He is a somatic therapist and quantum self-mastery coach, as well as a holistic engineer, and I'm just so interested in you guys knowing what's going on with that because it's just so interesting. So let's go ahead and tap in. Again, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you. Let's go ahead and start off with if you can kind of share with us how you kind of got here. Share with us a little bit about your journey and how you got into the practices that you're into now.
For sure. Thank you for having me. So my journey started, I could say, like with realization, spiritual realization. I was, and it kind of went part and parcel with the first juice fast of my life. So I fasted on juice for about 3 days, and I was kind of like amazed and floored by how much energy I had, and like the nature and the quality of my dreams. So I had already kind of like been studying and practicing yoga and meditation, but that kind of marked a point where it's like I can't go back to like future and pork and certain things. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like what brought me into it was like the healing piece and obviously like going through some other like deep struggles and stuff like that. But what brought me more so closer into like the actual healing work with people was that I kind of was already, you know, pretty much like a leader and a figurehead within my group of friends for like spirituality and like self-mastery. And I realized that, as I was telling people about stuff that I was finding out and researching, that a lot of people couldn't really move past certain imprints and traumas. And I don't think I called it that at that time, but I just started to notice that people have these major blockages that they seem to keep on looping through and repeating. And so that's when I kind of like took a couple of steps closer to what trauma was and imprints and how can I actually heal, on a physical level and not just give people like wise information, you know what I'm saying? And I became amazed with what I found in terms of the therapeutic world. Well, let me say the spiritual therapeutic world, just as far as understanding who we are, what we're capable of, who we become when we're stressed out, who we become when we're in relationships that deplete us, and ultimately just learning about the architecture or the structure of our ego and our psyche. And it continues to amaze me. And so this work that I've been dabbling in and dealing with almost for the last decade, but more so like the therapy and the spiritual healing piece, definitely like the last 5 years or so. It's kind of been a gift that keeps on giving because like every day or every time I share a deeper experience with people or with myself, I'm just always called to go deeper and look at different aspects of healing and self-mastery. So I would say that pain and struggle brought me here, and the enlightenment, wisdom, and love of what I find and what we discover as we work together is what keeps me here.
Ashe, I hear you. And, I think that a lot of us, like, especially us that are on the front line or just in this work, healing work, we kind of find ourselves at young ages seeing through the facade and seeing through the illusions and understanding that there's more to, what I'm saying? We see through the pain, and we're like, or just like how we present ourselves and we see through the facade, the front of what people put on. We see the hurt, the pain behind the eyes, and we look back and we realize like, oh man, this was me all along, right? And so I think that's amazing. As far as were you associated with any religions growing up? And if you were, like, how did you kind of wean yourself off of that or exit out of that phase of your life? Or if you still have any now?
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that say like I'm spiritual over religious. But I actually still am kind of very religious, not in the sense that like I guess most of the people in the community think about. Like when we say religion, it's kind of like saying like, yeah, I remain to be quote unquote deaf, dumb, and blind to certain things. But I'm just religious in the sense that I love God, I love source, I kind of just love life, you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm not necessarily still a religious, and I grew up in Christianity. My mom definitely used to have me in the church. Like, I definitely used to be sleeping in the church. She definitely used to encourage me to like pray and, read the Bible and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely grew up with Christianity as a major influence in my life. And then definitely around like 16, 17, 18 years old, I kind of shifted my perspective a little bit to Islam. Not like I ever became like a Muslim, but I definitely was reading a lot of Elijah Muhammad and Wallace Fard Muhammad and 5% of teachings and stuff like that. But yeah, so I kind of started to gravitate away from the container of religion once I realized that my questions were a little bit too big for anybody to actually answer and handle. After that point, because I'm definitely a super nerd, and I realized like, yo, I'm asking people who are not, you know, and I say this with a loving heart, but who are not on the same level, do not have the same slant of awareness that I have in terms of looking at this thing. And no two people are the same, but my questions were basically too overqualified for the people that I was around. And then that's when I started to see like, yo, there's so much information and knowledge and wisdom in these wisdom traditions around the world that it would kind of be crazy to just box myself in. And so I had a moment. I was on the toilet back in the day. I was taking a number two. And I think I was like definitely like 18 or 19 years old. And I was like, Jesus, I was like, if you are like bigger than just this one religion, then you kind of wouldn't mind if I was looking at other spiritual systems outside of you because you're in that, right? Um, so yeah, over time I definitely uncoupled the concept of Jesus from God and just little dynamics like that. And it's kind of just led me on this quest ever since. I'm a lifelong student. I love learning. There will never be a day where I stop learning and have appreciation for growth. And I think that if God could speak in English, source spoke in English, I think it would say something along the lines of try to understand me in all my forms and all the ways I express myself and show up and not in just one container. And for me that works. I understand for other people they might have to receive truth with form in a certain way based on their life and and their incarnation and things of that nature. But yeah.
Oh yeah, that's really powerful because for myself, I know that it was that's something I can relate to because I know that for a long time it was hard for me to accept that God was just you can find all the answers that you need to know about God in one book. And this is supposed to
Right.
be the creator of all things. And I'm like, there's no there that just yeah, I just can't understand it. I can't fathom that being the end all be all, the only truth. And it just always bothered me. So um, that's powerful, And so I guess that kind of leads into something that you had made a post back in November. And I believe that you said something about desensitizing humans from spirituality
Mm. Mm-hmm.
or decentralizing humans from spirituality. How
Yeah.
we kind of get caught up in or fixated on titles like vegan or a Muslim and stuff like that. So could you and you said that it kind of became laughable at some point, in which I hear you. So would you be able to kind of elaborate on what you meant in that post?
Yeah. um oh my gosh, you catapulted us into the whole world, like studies, old studies. But what I meant from it was that, you know, obviously we're in a human body, right? We're in a human meat suit. And the way that we look at the world is definitely going to be human because that's a part of who we are and what we are. Um, but recently I've just I love systems and playing with different constructs and frameworks in which to look at the world, right? And so, more so recently, I've just been kind of looking at like hypothetically of like what we are, like what is the nature of reality, like outside of human beings. Like, we call a rock or a boulder because that's a generally shared agreement. But maybe that's something else. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like who told us that that was a bird that just flew across your face? Like we only named it that. And so there's only a certain level of magic that can enter that because we gave it a name. You know what I'm saying? Also too, just looking at human beings, our evolution, our phylogeny, and where we've come from, just in terms of not just like our mother or the culture that we grew from, but like, what the fuck are we? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you curse on here or not, but it's like, what are we? Okay, cool. She said, go ahead. But it's like, what the fuck are we? And so when I say like decentralizing human beings from spirituality has been so freeing, it really has, because now it has me thinking in ways that like is not just about my own human existence. Because if I'm so connected to just my human existence, maybe there's the possibility that I'm missing, what life is also offering. And so I've been doing a lot of research in terms of, our DNA, our genes, the human kingdom, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, microbes, bacteria, viruses, and how life sprung from supernova nuclear fission and things like that. And, one of the interesting things that I found out is that, we not only have a nuclear genome from our mother and our father, but we also have a viral genome, a bacterial genome, a myco fungus genome. And so we're not individuals in the way that we've been taught to believe, even spiritually, even right now in the spiritual community or right now in religious, like you are not just Kai, like you are a whole ecological system with other ecological systems dictating who you are. And in other words, like you are who you are, plus the lives that make up Kai. And so Kai is not just, this one human being that's sitting in front of me. You're actually more microbe and bacteria than you are a human being. You know what I'm saying? And the decentralizing human beings have kind of like shifted my awareness to like what was the beginning of life on this planet. And so as far as I can see, like the first forms of life on this planet were microbes. And so I treat them as the planetary elders and the gods, not creator, but the gods of this realm. So I'm saying openly, boldly, that microorganisms are the gods of this realm. They're also the planetary elders. They're also the engineers. If you watch the movie Prometheus, they have this whole thing of the engineers on this other planet. And so I'm saying that literally you can look to the quantum realm, which is the world of the very small, to see who we are, right? And so in so many words, because we are like this multi-genomic being that has many different genomes, like we can only operate based off of our symbiotes or our microbes and bacteria that's in our body. And I just want to kind of come back to this point that, within our DNA, human beings only have about 20,000 genes for human DNA. And yet, you possess over 25 million genes from different species, not just bacteria, not just fungus, not just protists, not just viruses, but all of these different microorganisms as a whole dictate how well we perform this act or performance of being human. And I would go so far as to say that, like, when people talk about they're from Pleiades and Sirius and things like that, that's so real. It's only but it's happening on a quantum microbiological level. We understand these things intuitively, but like real life, like each of the pores in your skin is its own ecosystem. You can find hundreds of different beings and organisms um, in one pore of your skin. So I'm not even just talking about like your microbiome and having healthy gut bacteria, eating yogurt and shit. It's like, no, like think about this thing. At one point, you know, a virus or even a bacteria as small as it is performed the act of evolution and is responsible for creating not only like the mineral deposits on this planet, but also plant life and also animal life and also human life. So it's like really what a human being is just we are like even culture and civilization, it's like a temporary manifestation between ice ages or polar shifts and reversals that exist on a microbial stage, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So looking at microbes and things like this in terms of what spirituality is has completely blown my mind. Like I don't even look at astrology the same. I don't look at gene keys the same. I don't look at human design the same. I don't really even look at like what I thought spiritual systems were the same after coming into this understanding of microbes. Because did you know that you are only able to give birth because at one point a virus gifted women two genes called synthesin 1, synthesin 2. So it's like a human being wouldn't even be able to have a baby. A woman wouldn't even be able to have a baby if a virus did not donate genes to make that possible. So it's like we owe a lot of our existence and the magic of who we are to the world of the very small, which is the world of the quantum. And so that's why I'm heavily engaged in actually like studying this. And not even just studying this like more information. It's almost like, damn, like microbes, like who are you? Or damn, water, what was your first memory? Like it's like deeper than just, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm gonna say this. That's extremely powerful. And I mean, like, like just listening to you, it kind of shifts my perspective as well. Cause I know that, like, the other day I was thinking, like, man, what if we're like, you know, if you look at it like that, it's just like, you realize this is so much more expansive, or way, like, big is an understatement.
Yep.
Bigger is an understatement of what this actually is and what all this actually is. And I know that I was just driving the other day and I'm thinking, like, the ants, like, what if I'm like, they're so small they might not even get ran over as I'm driving here, but what if we're ants to someone else? You know what I'm saying? Like, it, it's just crazy that you say that, because I was literally thinking about that the other day. And I guess that this is kind of like a perfect time to roll on into um, your practice, which is, the quantum self mastery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I call myself a holistic engineer because I definitely, didn't want to limit myself to just, being like a guide or a way shower and or just like a raw vegan chef. So I say holistic engineer to kind of denote all of those different hats and the different realms that human beings inhabit. So that is like the quantum self mastery. I basically, teach people and my clients, you know, quantum health hacks to optimize their life, and the word quantum is big and juicy and sexy, right? But it really just means the world of the very small. How can I master the world of the very small? And so, one of the base practices that I teach people is really like how to understand your circadian rhythm and your circadian biology so that you can be on top of your metabolism, which to me, metabolism is not just how you take in food and break it down. It's really about how you gather the resources in your environment and you allow that to actually power your being and who you are. So metabolism for me is a psychic process as well. It's also our alchemy process, how you take large, big, disagreeable energies and break it down and sequence them through your system so that you can come about some wisdom or learn how to actually live life. Um, so yeah, the quantum self mastery really is about understanding like who we are as light beings and how to best optimize our environment. And I really start with the circadian piece and learning how to synchronize your life with the rising sun and the setting sun and amplify your energy, because that's the basis of who we are, And in so many words, like I put that as the quantum foundation, very specifically the circadian rhythm piece and interacting with light in your environment, because a lot of people want to heal and are trying to heal, but may not understand that, cancers or diabetes or certain illnesses and disorders, mental disorders even, are going to keep coming back unless you set the stage for healing, right? And so what I mean by this, and even on a practical level, is that like a person can take a shitload of herbs, shitload of juice, and still have some of the same issues come up because we don't quite understand like our relationship with light, right? So for example, like each of your cells have something called a net negative charge, which is basically its redox potential. And a cell's redox potential is basically the amount of power and energy it has to actually clean itself and perform its tasks, right? And so you can be living in an unhealthy light environment, like right now, right? I got my computer screen on. I got these non-native electromagnetic frequencies in the form of these room lights on. And what right now is it's dehydrating my cellular battery. Right. Normally, I let my friend borrow my glasses, but normally I would have some blue light glasses on, and I definitely have like candles lit, and I don't have lights on. People that know me know that I'm like lights. Ah, like I don't like too much bombarding lights in my vicinity. And the reason why is because it messes up your cell's ability to actually detox itself. And my point with saying this is another piece of a quantum strategy is to learn how to redox before you detox. So what that means is you need to improve and modify your light environment, make sure you're obviously barefoot on the earth, catching the rising sun and the setting sun, because all light's not created equally. Like there's different streams and branches and qualities of that morning light that we need, just like it's different qualities of that noon light and that and sunset light that we need to be a healthy optimized organism, right? And so yeah, that's a definitely a piece of the quantum self mastery, as it looks in the external environment. And then, coming into deeper territory to your own inner being, it really deals with how well you can metabolize your own experience of yourself and of relationships. And that's quantum as well, being able to take a couple of steps back and really look at like, what am I losing or gaining in terms of light, in terms of my relationship to another person, you know? And even more important, your first contract with reality is really your presence, how you hold yourself, right? Your relationship to yourself is presence. And so that's quantum, because I have a thought that once you start to ask some of these deeper questions, you know, your atoms, your cells, they start to become a little bit more aware of their own existence, right? Not as a human being like, yo, I'm in this bitch, but it's more like something about the living energy of your own awareness drop down into your cells makes them excited. It makes them go crazy, and it starts to offer new possibilities. Like, whoa, like my cells have consciousness, my atoms have consciousness. And so with that, many new things start to get revealed, especially through people's dream time and the synchronicities that are happening in life, and things like that. So it's quantum self-mastery, basically because we are starting to have a finer appreciation for ourselves and the atoms that make us who we are. And something interesting about atoms, and just the world of the micro, is that atoms themselves express like a certain degree of like structure and order, and I would say perfection, right? And I think that somewhere between that microcosmic realm and our macrocosmic realm of being human beings, I think there's something to be said about our human macro existence, raising it to the level of perfection that we see in the atom, the atomic world, right? So in other words, like atoms and how they deal, what I'm saying, with other atoms and the electrons and the protons and their relationships, it's almost perfect, and it works like clockwork. And if you think about an atom, how fast it moves, I think, the proton is rotating around the nucleus some 33 million times a second. But if you look at the realm of human beings, like the earth itself, it's rotating relatively slow compared to that. And so my thought is that, the more we can inhabit ourselves, the more we can actually commune cellularly, which is introspection and asking yourself questions like, how am I feeling in this moment, and just orienting towards space and time. My thought is that we're creating a tangible link to the consciousness of our atoms. And in some way, we're glorifying creation by actually doing that.
Yeah, because that was actually what I was going to ask. So basically, us asking those questions is also asking the, what, like you said, the atoms in your body. Because I'm like, that's really crazy to think that way. Because then it just, again, that even takes us a lot deeper into consciousness, not just spirituality, but that consciousness. And
Exactly.
realizing that it's way more than just what we can. It's in its entirety. So I'm starting to understand the quantum self mastery, which is nice. So I guess what my next question would be, like, as far as like how you teach quantum self mastery, like what are like certain like where do you begin? I know that you started off, you said, with the circadian, making sure that, we eat properly and with the sun and stuff like that. So I guess when someone comes to you and said, hey, I need a quantum self-mastery coach, what is like your initial approach to that, or to that person?
Got you. So in the past, it's looked different from what it looks like now. Just for anybody that's been working with me or have worked with me in the past, um, I definitely start with like where a person is wanting to go, because people come to you with different agendas in a good way. People come with different things that they're trying to heal in their life. So if somebody was trying to work with me for diet, that's going to look a little bit different than somebody that's like coming to me for somatic healing. The diet piece, I'm really going to like kind of go in on mitochondria for one, the circadian rhythm, and just kind of understanding like how we're actually supposed to eat seasonally and what area you live in, and how just making healthy choices for that. Whereas if somebody came for like the deep healing and somatically, like for one, like how I practice and how I learned was that we always start with a no, just in terms of like working with people. So I ask people, what are you comfortable with? What have you been uncomfortable with in terms of working with people in therapeutic relationships, right? And so some people might be like, yo, um, kind of not feeling when people want to guide me to meditate in a certain type of way, or I'm not feeling when like I'm talking to somebody and they're just trying to give me a reading, but they can't actually see me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say it looks different based on if it looks like you came to me for like detoxing for food, or if you came to me for working with some of the deeper traumas and imprints that you have. Now, somatically, when I work, I have a questionnaire that I have people fill out that actually gives me a good gauge on where to actually start from. I have to ask the trauma history. I have to ask things that I need to know as a practitioner that they feel comfortable with. Um, and what I see generally as people's biggest issues, I will not start there. I always will start with something small, working from the periphery into the core. So, for example, um, if a brother came to me because maybe he had sexual abuse when he was younger, I'm not going to start at like, yeah, so tell me about the deepest, most painful experience of your life, right? Um, Knowing that that might have happened to, and this is kind of the framework, right? Knowing that that might have happened obviously to his sexual organs, right? Or certain segments on the body. What I will do is I'll use that principle of like reflexology or holography, or life just being a hologram. So instead of us like doing work on his reproductive organs, or meditations there and work there and stuff like that, we'll actually just use a copy, which a copy is, this is a base. So we can actually work with anywhere that's a base. I can work with anywhere that's a base to actually like tap into that area, so that I don't like approach super quick like, yo, what's going on with this, you know what I'm saying? um so there it is. I think I had to say that just to express that I like to work like holographically with different reflex zones on a person's body because of quantum holography. And how this works is that I can work with the base of your palm and simultaneously work with your pelvic floor at the same time. And maybe your body's security system actually will allow a practitioner to work with this more so than work with your pelvic floor. You know what I'm saying? um so yeah, I don't have a general like generic formula of like how and where to start. Not saying that that's what you were asking, but I just kind of want to highlight that because as a practitioner, I feel like it's really really important to find your client first before you start working on them. And I think that as a community, we'll start to actually see this more and more, like as we deepen into our practice. Like, yo, okay, I'm not just trying to just do this little warm 1, 2, 3 warm up cookie cut thing that everybody is doing, because I'm unique and my history, ancient and new, has been very different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. And another thing is just kind of going with what, because we want to, I guess, as a practitioner, I think that in being intuitive and using your intuition while you're dealing with your clients is necessary, especially when you're in this work, and you are a healer. Having that ability to connect on a spiritual level and allow spirit to guide you, I think, is a major thing when it comes to our practices. So just kind of not having that structured way of going about things kind of gives that room for spirit to really move, and your intuition to guide you in how you're to basically connect with that particular individual, because everyone, like you said, is different. We can't connect with one person the way we can connect with another person. So I definitely understand that aspect, because I'm the same way. You'll never catch a session the same. Everybody's different, so it's going to be different for everyone. So I honor that, and so I guess that's another thing I want to tap into is just kind of you explaining what somatic therapy is and what you do, and because it's different, like I said earlier, quantum self-mastery, that's completely different. You're not going to hear that, you're not going to, it's very different. I don't think I've heard that before at all. And so even somatic therapy, so can you go ahead and tap into that first, because I'm sure that most people don't know what that is.
For sure, for sure. Also, too, I want to say that I put somatic therapist, right? But one of my teachers was like, they basically told me, she's like, you might want to stay away from the word therapist, because if you didn't go for 4 to 6 years of training and have that credential from the school, then it might raise problems with other therapists. So I do want to say that, like, I've been trained in an advanced somatic modality called alchemical alignment. So when I say somatic therapy, I put it really to kind of like resonate with people who I know for a fact are not going to go to like your local therapy building, like, yo, I need therapy, I need it now. Like, there's a lot of people who's like, nah, I don't trust
Understood.
that. um, but yeah, so somatic therapy is really part and parcel with this understanding that we have a mind, we have a body, right, and those are unified, and understanding that we need to really develop an intimate relationship with our body, because our body is part and parcel with our right hemisphere, right? The deep implicit experience, the body experience, body memories, and your experience of life is not independent from just you thinking about life from your mind, right? And so, some of the forefathers, quote unquote, of somatics in this modern era, have been people like Thomas Hanna, Robert, Peter Levine. And I'm kind of just giving these references for people who's like, ooh, wow, like I want to kind of dive into this. Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Dr. Mia Califf, Charlotte Selver, those are kind of like some of the pioneers of somatics. But what it basically means is that how can I have an experience that I register as my body is actually having this experience, not necessarily my mind, right? Because there's a difference between a somatic landscape, you inhabiting your body and having that experience from your body, than you having this experience in your mind, right? So like right now, if I'm like, yo, I want you to feel into your left foot, just like put some awareness into your left foot, like cognitively, you're gonna be like, okay, I got a foot, cool. It's right there. Somatically, your left foot can feel like an entire room. Like it can feel like an ocean. It can be filled with so much depth and space, and you can feel little tingling sensations. That's different than us working with your mind. And so somatically, again, we're working with the cells, but I'll just say we're working with the tissue and the organs in your body, and we're bringing life into them, because maybe they have a story to tell, and maybe you're telling you or communicating with you what they want to do, how they want to feel, or, just in general, like what's their experience, And so somatics is really about how can you deepen the life inside of your body and like give your body a voice, Like right now, my foot is wanting to move a little bit. So I'm just letting it move, like actively wiggling my toes right now, because somatically, that's what's speaking to me. And so, in terms of somatic therapy, it's bottom up rather than top down. And top down will be like your traditional cognitive behavioral therapy, where it's like, yo, Kai, what you been going through? You start to tell me stuff that you've been going through. And then I just, you know, and I'm not trying to shit on cognitive behavioral therapy or top down therapies at all. I'm just saying that there's a different approach that we need to take when we go through different dynamics. And so the top down cognitive piece would be me probably piecing together parts of your narrative or your story that might be incoherent because you might have been through a trauma. So it's like it's all right there, and I'm just there to kind of be like, yo, do you know you do this probably because this happened and this happened. Somatics is more so like, you know, we get into a session and you're taking a baseline, you might be laying down, and the emphasis is really on understanding your body's intelligence and the experience that it's going through. And so we may hang out in a certain area of your body, right? Like, let's say the hand. Like, I might be like, yo, like, let's like hold hands, or you might just hover your hand over mine just for a couple of seconds, and let's just see what we can learn about the connection. This is why I love it too, because it's almost like you're performing experiments in consciousness. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. But stuff magically, once there's enough safety and support, will start to arise. And then you get to become curious, like, yo, like, I didn't do anything, but like my hand just started doing this movement. And then maybe, a year later, you might realize that maybe that was like a primitive reflex from when you were 3 months old. And like that was like the first movement that your thumb made. And then it brings up another memory of something else. So it's almost like, we're attending to the intelligence of the system. And so somatics for me is, I have a system, but it kind of starts with this gentle exploration of what your body's wanting to express. You know what I'm saying? And we tap into that.
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Do
I'll
you
go
like so basically, because I understand that trauma is also stored in the body, it's not just the mental aspect or the subconscious mind, but also gets stored within the body. So I guess that's my question is like, when you enter into these sessions, is there like a specific, like, do most of your clients come in and they're basically kind of like, I have pain here, or is it like we're just gonna find out what happens or what's there, or are you guided to a certain area of the body, or how does that work, or what does that look like?
For sure. So there's different like client archetypes, right? So one client might be like, yo, I'm ready for whatever. Like, let's just do some shit. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I could just pick something maybe from my tool bag that resonates. And then there are clients who's like, yo, I've been having stomach issues and I just went through this fucking terrible ass breakup. I feel like my womb has accumulated trauma. You know what I'm saying? So generally, like, we'll talk for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll start to dive into some type of practice into that territory, working with that area, or again, a peripheral aspect of that area. Um, so my formula really is like, it's my formula is really this. It's like, from what I can pick up after I tune to you, what is the intelligence in your system saying? So if you start talking and I notice like you're carrying most of your weight up here, automatically I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, let's work with the upper body. And then maybe something might come to me like, yo, all right, we're gonna work with the top half of your body because like you're holding too much weight above ground. And maybe we can develop a creative partnership with gravity and just like exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting because it's like I'm hearing myself talking. It's almost like, so what the fuck is it? What do you do? But let me give you an example of solid, tangible practice. Um, I wish I had a picture of this that I could just put up there. But one very simple practice is if people have a lot of anxiety and something maybe just happened to them, or even if I got into a car accident and my family was in the car, or I witnessed that. This is something I've actually done in real life. I go over to the car, you know, ask if they're okay, if they are in a state where they're okay or whatever. And I'll be like, yo, do you mind doing something right quick that'll make you feel 10 times better? And so this has really happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? Ask this lady in Atlanta, she hit a car, and it was enough time for me to actually be able to do this. But she got out the car. I told her, come over here to the grass right quick, take off your shoes, and I want you to just jump and just start shaking. You know what I'm saying? Just making wild sounds with your mouth, like opening up your whole esophagus, just kind of like opening up your body. And so, you know, she did that for about a minute. It wasn't that long because I know she felt a little bit awkward at first doing it. But just even something as simple as that shaking practice actually allowed for that cortisol and that adrenaline to actually sequence through her body and not get trapped in her tissues. Because if it would have, maybe a year later or something like that, she might have had some type of issue, or she might have had some type of issue, or even maybe a dream that just keeps pursuing her about like how she needs to like get out of the way or stay out of people's way, all because she got into a car accident. But what we did in that moment was a very simple somatic exercise of allowing more energy and circulation to go through your system so that you don't hold on to that charge in your cells. So we discharged it.
Oh wow. Okay. So I guess while I'm listening to you, I had another question have popped up because I want to know like is it safe to say like somatic therapy is like on the or like something similar to Reiki, and if it is or if it isn't, like what is the difference, or what would you say? How would you differentiate the two?
Yeah, so Reiki is definitely somatics in that your physical body is definitely affected. I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think a lot of people classically would see Reiki as somatics. Um because even maybe the progenitors of that word and how it looks, because people are adding different medicine to somatics, which is so beautiful. But how it looks, like most of the somatic practitioners, um how do I want to say this? All right, so basically, I'm gonna say this: like, you can look at Reiki as a somatic therapy, but most people would not define Reiki as somatics, because somatics would definitely mean like the tangible link to your physical body and getting in your physical body. And I would say that it might even be hard for somebody who does Reiki or just receive Reiki to get a grasp on somatics, because what we're doing with somatics is really kind of rehabilitating your relationship to your body. It might be in your history very easy to work in a non-physical way based on people's trauma history and their own shadow, and that might be easy. It might be harder to actually get into your body and feel sensations in your body, because maybe we've disassociated from our body for so long that Reiki, well, I don't want to say that. Maybe we just disassociated from our body for so long that somatics might be hard. So there's definitely a difference between Reiki and somatics. Reiki, Reiki practitioners and masters, and if you're one, don't kill me, but you're channeling universal life energy, not necessarily your own energy, but you're channeling it and transducing it for another human being so they have a bigger experience of their own healing capacity. Somatics is actually doing the same thing. It's just choosing maybe to work with earth, the earth element first as a base, and then we go deeper, which is interesting because, in the Tibetan, they have different chakra systems in Tibet. And one of those systems, actually, the chakras go from the head into the body. And then the body is the deepest dimension, because the body is your connection to everything on earth. You know what I'm saying? Physical consciousness. Um, but yeah, I hope that answered the question.
No, it did, because I know that like as far as Reiki, it's more of you're more tapping into energy. It's more like focused on the energy, and
Mm.
moving the energy, I guess. I haven't tapped too much into Reiki, but I took like one class, but I need to finish it. But but okay, but that does answer my question for sure. And then I guess like I guess how would you like, do you combine, because I know you are a quantum self mastery coach, you're a holistic engineer as well as somatic therapist. So um, do like when you have a certain session or you're doing these your coaching sessions, are you incorporating all three of those into one, or just like it depends on the, I mean, I guess it depends on the person, like you said.
Yeah, for the most part, like personally, I cannot just like do like health, um, like tell somebody to go on like a mono fruit diet and recommend herbs without hitting on like kind of the spiritual pieces, because I feel like people need to know this information, like how it connects to different realms. But yeah, like you said, it does depend, because there are some people who's like, yo, I just want to know how to help my thyroid. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to give you a buffet. But I do know that some people benefit from like very simple, small, doable pieces. And then there are other people who's like, yo, all of the, I want to know all of the connections, and I need to know how this fits with this and all of this type of stuff. But yeah, generally, I definitely do a lot of syncretism, definitely a lot of blending of like the somatic piece, the self mastery piece, the detoxification piece, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and I would see that because it's all. I mean, we need all of it. So truthfully, it's necessary to have each of those things incorporated in your practice, especially if someone is looking to master oneself in you know all the way around, right? And so I guess it brings me to another post that I remember that you made. I think it was also in November, and it was about I mean, it was kind of simple. It was just about you. It was like connecting to your soul and detaching from the personality.
Mm.
So
Oh yeah,
can you explain, like, or elaborate on what that means to you and how someone could possibly, disconnect from the personality? Because I feel like we get so attached, like you said earlier, or like we were talking about earlier, we get so attached to these titles, things, and it limits us in so many ways. So if you can like elaborate on that'd be
for sure. I guess let me just define soul and personality as I meant it, because obviously this stuff is layered and it's might not be what somebody's thinking as soon as they hear that. So to me, your personality is the combination of your body, your emotions, and your psyche, right? It's a body, emotions, and psyche. Yeah, it's basically your ego is your body, your emotions, and your psyche. And to me, your soul is actually obviously higher than that. So if I had an hierarchy to this, right, it would be at the top your spirit, which is uncreated, pure electricity, pure fire. Then it differentiates a little bit into a soul, which overlaps with every other soul in creation. So a soul to me isn't necessarily an individual entity. It's something that interpenetrates everybody else's soul or a group soul, right? It's what stores the wisdom from our incarnations and things like that, right? The radiance. It's almost like how a bee just goes from flower to flower collecting nectar, and then it distills the honey from that nectar. That is what the soul is for me. It's a repository of wisdom. It's a blank canvas that we're writing our experiences down on. So when I say be able to connect to soul and detach from personalities, first and foremost, there has to be some awareness of your own soul or the soul that you belong to. So there's already work that needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I don't think that everybody can just do that per se. And so when I say connect to soul, it means how can I best connect with the light of this human being, meaning that light that I first sensed when I first met that person. Because again, your mind is going to start to distort how this person is once you start to know them. But you saw some type of light. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it was, damn, this person has the ability to charge the room, or damn, this person has a very sweet radiant soul. Like, is there some quality of light that you registered when you first met somebody? And so it's that. It's like, how can I connect to that? How can I create conditions for more of that to come online, rather than me getting upset because this person does the little throat pig noise in the morning, or they might talk over you a little bit too much. You know what I'm saying? Um, so it's like being able to detach from a person's personality and connect to their soul is all about searching for the light that you first found in that person, what first attracted to you to that person. And it's about really understanding your own light first. Because if you can understand like you as a soul or a spirit having a human experience, and you can kind of see your own light, then you can see other people's light. And there's a way to actually enter into a relationship with people where you don't have to be so deeply enmeshed into their personality, to their likes or their dislikes. And then you might start thinking about, does this person like that? Or, you know what I'm saying? It just carries you into this world that we need not enter. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if I honor your goddess form, you know what I'm saying? Like, then there's a base, there's a level of like mutual respect. And I can say that I'm engaging in your soul, you know what I'm saying? With your soul. I'm not necessarily connected to all of your thoughts and idiosyncrasies and who you are on, maybe, I'm not gonna say more intimate levels, but just more on personality levels. So it's almost like having love at a healthy distance. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, we can annoy the fuck out of you. Choose like medicine that they bring to this world is connecting to their soul, which is very hard, by the way.
Yes, and I agree, because we get, again, it's just that we're it takes us to get out of our own ego and out of our own way in order for us to recognize that light. Like you said, we have to recognize the light within us in order to recognize that light in someone else. And I think what happens is that we have a lot, we are so driven by the ego, that it makes us, we miss that light, and we immediately go to judging or to analyzing or to um, trying to understand or comprehend another person, when in reality, just like, they are that way because of, certain experiences that they have, but that's not necessarily who they are. Who they are is outside of that ego. And
Mm.
as we learn to kind of chop down our own ego and tap into our own soul, it's much easier to see beyond, again, the facade or the illusion of the ego, because the ego is not the truth. It's more of a protection system type thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's definitely kind of how I see it as well too. Like, I kind of look at a person's ego as I'm willing to say I'm willing to say that kind of look at a person's ego as also like the child of their higher self. And so it's learning, it's creating its own individuality. And there's a healthy side to the ego just as much as there's an unhealthy side to the ego, right? And so it's just like our shadow, it's an apprentice. It's learning. We're initiating it. You know what I'm saying? To do even greater work for us in the future.
Exactly. And it's funny because I also think of the ego as a child, and I was telling my client a couple weeks ago that, the ego is like a child. And if you leave that child in the house, and you let the child run the child doesn't know how to take care of a household and is going to tear it up, you know. But we love the ego. We love the child. It's not, we don't want to get rid of the child. We just want to make sure that the child is properly taken care of, so it
Yeah.
doesn't go on a rampage, right? And so, um, it's definitely, I think that's the best way to put it for myself, because I always use it that way. The ego is like a child, and the child, as a child, it was never meant to be in a position to run the household, because it
Yeah.
doesn't know how.
Yep. Yep. I vibe with it. I kind of look at our psyche, again, like decentralizing human beings, which is incredibly, well, maybe a weird statement to say, but like I look at our psyche as working in teams, right? So like archetypal teams, like archetypal energies, and not just like us being this one human being. Because if I just identify as like, yo, I'm just Shri, I'm just supreme, like I'm just this one being, it doesn't leave any room for like the other parts of me. And you got a whole ecosystem of energies. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I feel like that's like the unhealthy piece of the ego, is when we like start to, we have thoughts from these different parts of our psychic ecosystem, and so we start to identify with them. You know what I'm saying? Like you might have, your hurt inner child, or the one that experienced abandonment might be talking. And I think if we don't know this and make this differentiation, we start to kind of link ourselves to that voice. And it's like the more you link yourself to this voice, like you take on its burdens and its weights. And what if that part wants to die? You know what I'm saying? Then we run the risk of, even things as deep, like deep territory, like suicide. Like maybe that part wanted to die, but maybe you didn't differentiate that from the rest of your system. So it's like it could get us into some real trouble. You know what I'm saying? But
Very, very much so. And
powerful.
I know, and it's funny because again, as a child, if you're not taking care of a child, you're not giving it proper nourishment, that child is not going to be in the best conditions, and that child is going to fuss, it's going to fight, it's going to throw tantrums, it's going to do what it needs to do to feel seen. And that's what our ego does when it brings those things up to the surface. And when that inner child is coming up, it's like, hey, I need your attention, I need to be catered to, I need to be reparented, I need to be cuddled or nurtured, or whatever the case may be. If we don't, but it's more like we have to remember we are not those thoughts, but we're the consciousness of,
Yes.
consciousness, the awareness behind that. And that awareness should be treated as the parent of that ego.
Mm-hmm.
And, and you take care of that ego, that the parent, the awareness, the child, the ego, you know what I mean? And it needs to be taken care of. And I think that once we realize that, that's when ascension really starts to accelerate, because that's the hardest part of evolving, or just getting to a point of a certain level of consciousness. It's just that it's that big barrier of the ego makes it really hard to transcend. But once we get that and realize that and understand that, that's when true transformation it begins.
Nah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's kind of rewinding a little bit. You were asking me about how I might start, and something just came to me. I'm really big on asking people about the nature of their dreams if they want to share. You know what I'm saying? When we first start working together, because that, again, more so than even astrology and different frameworks and stuff to look at a human being, that gives me an actual snapshot of like where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Where somebody may be at in their process. So I know I'm late as hell saying that, but I think it's important as hell to, you know, to throw that in there. Just the nature of your dreams and what dreams are, and how much how much of a part of the healing process, not even healing process, but the healing and the self-mastery process that is. You know what I'm saying? As time moves on.
For sure. And so as far as the dreams, so what would be an indicator? Like what are you actually, when you ask someone about their dreams, what exactly are you looking for? And like what result, like what are you like needing to figure out, or what can you figure out by the nature, or like by what someone tells you
Mm,
as far as their dreams?
right. um mm, all right, I'm having to try to like condense what I what I want to say about this. um so for starters, I'll just say that there's two levels of dreams that I'm kind of looking at when working with people, and I'll call those, let's call the mesocosmic. I call it the mesocosmic aspect of dreams and the macrocosmic aspect of dreams. The macrocosmic aspect of dreams is, the psychological piece of the fact that, so there's different qualities of dreams, right? I'm not even gonna sit here and act like, yo, dreams are all just this one thing. There are different qualities. You know what I'm saying? One therapeutic aspect of dreams, I'm gonna say, is that when you dream, you tend to you're rehearsing how you're going to show up in life the next day, the next week, the next years, the next decade. You are rehearsing ways in which you want to organize your experience of the world. That's what dreams are. So there's this whole aspect of, you know, even your muscles and your neurons forming new synaptic connections while you're asleep, because you're literally organizing your body in new ways to show up, which is incredibly deep, because this is the first way that we learn, through mimicking, through how we posture and hold ourselves. Matter of fact, babies' languages are gesture, like they speak in gesture, you know what I'm saying? And so like one of the base levels of dreams is that, like, all right, automatically you're going to go through the most emotionally charged events that you went through in that day at nighttime. That's a part of the dream process. It's a deep detoxification. Hopefully it's a detoxification, you know what I'm saying? But you're going to go through what you went through in the day. You're going to sift out the most emotionally charged pieces of your day, and you're going to either act that out or bring some type of harmony to that. That's one aspect of the dream. So you're assembling yourself in new ways in the dream. And it happens in a way that you might present a dream figure or a dream character who is, let's say you need more embodied leadership and you need to have definite direction and be highly structured with what you need to do. You're going to present some exaggerated dream figure of that. You know what I'm saying? It might be somebody that you hate or dislike, you know what I'm saying, deeply in your life. I can't stand this motherfucker because they always want to come in and do this and shift the space. And maybe that's a medicinal quality, not them per se, but maybe that's a medicinal quality that we need in our life, right? And so, you know, that's the macrocosmic, like how you're organizing yourself to create new experiences for yourself. This is also how we develop deep mastery. If you think about musicians and artists, many of them, many of us who create great works, you hear this music or you see these visions in 5D, 6D, 7D, and you pull this vision down into your reality. And so then you start to play a musical piece in reality. You start to develop the skills, like maybe you've been learning how to play the harp. For some reason you wake up the next couple of weeks, yo, you got a new level of mastery in the harp because you've been practicing, you've been gesturing, you've been shaping, you've been molding yourself. And so the dream realm is really an embryonic realm because you get to see the different forces of creation and how you can shape yourself to become new in a new situation, right? um and in so many words, you're information, your synapses and cells are collecting information so that you know how to exist in the world or in a relationship in a new way. And it might take a couple of weeks or it might take a couple of years, but that is one of the aspects of what you're working out in a dream. And so it's important for me because it's a diagnostic tool of where your psyche is actually at. I'm so big on not sending people through this cookie cut system of like, all right, we're gonna do this yoga, you're gonna write down in this journal. It's not, there's not no system. Like, I like for it to be collapsible. Like, can we recreate something that's for you? You know what I'm saying? Because people don't really get that. Like, people don't really get a personalized experience of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's the microcosmic. The mesocosmic piece is much more deeper. Um, much more deeper. Um, in so many in so many words right, your dreams are like depictions coded genetic depictions of the microbiological levels of your being. And so in a dream, proteins dress up as people, you know. Proteins and genes dress up as people, you know, because they're working out formulas that you need to be able to shift into a higher capacity. And so it's like when you look at a dream, even the dreamscape is actually taking place within a cell. I would say the master cell. I would say the cell that exists after what is that, meiosis, and after you are a zygote and you're that first primary cell and you start to differentiate, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, the other aspect, the reason why I like to ask about dreams is because it's a very good snapshot into where your DNA is actually trying to go. And I'm mentioning, like, you know, the proteins dressing up as people in your life, because we have relational lines. You have your mom, your father, your cousin, but the relational lines are everybody you meet. So it's really who you meet might is mom 2.0, uncle 2.0, cousin 2.0. And these lines need balance and harmonization. And so if we can find out, or if I can find out, this isn't necessarily like something I tell each of my clients per se, but if we could find out like, damn, which relational line is gaining ascendancy and you need to work on, then it helps me understand like maybe like ways to boost the DNA, or maybe ways to boost the relationship with this energy. Not maybe with your uncle, because maybe y'all might be beefing, but with uncle 2.0, you keep having this issue with your lover, and maybe he's that relational line. It gives me a deep analysis of where to go and what to do. You know what I'm saying? But I have so much dreams and all.
Well, that's powerful. And I guess like I'm over here thinking like, do you know, or like, are you aware of any ways, or have you done it yourself to uh, um, have you got to a point, or know how to get to the point to where you can consciously um, work on things that you want to have happen in the future in your dream state now, other than
Mhm.
just going to sleep and allowing it to happen? Like, can you consciously go to sleep like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep tonight and I'm gonna start working on how to play the piano type of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so a lot of the magic that happens in human beings' life is a lot of the magic that happens in human beings' life is because of the trance state that we inhabit. Now, conscious people, for the most part, we're a little bit more conscious of this trance state than maybe somebody that's unconscious, because a lot of life exists in this post-hypnotic state of eating food, watching TV, having sex, going to sleep. But the most creative piece of our day is literally that hypnagogic state between when you're starting to get sleepy and when you're asleep. That liminal threshold is kind of what creates most of the events in our life, or the next days after, because you're actively like walking down brainwave states into like sleep. But what's happening is you're carrying with you all of these thoughts that you think about the world. And so as you bring that with you into that sleep state, again, between that wakefulness and sleep, like you're fusing reality, because you're carrying into your consciousness right before you go to sleep how much you can't stand fucker, or how much, what I'm saying, you need to hustle because you don't have the money right now to do what you want to do. And it's like we're carrying this shit literally into a garden that's going to fuse and grow the seeds that we deposit. And the garden, subconscious mind, feminine principle in our mind, makes no differentiation between a good seed and a bad seed. It just grows shit. That's what it does. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Yeah.
um, did that answer your question? I don't want.
Yeah, it did. It
Oh,
did. You know, and I know, because I, like, for myself, like I try, like the moment I wake up, I try to do my best to remember to start saying my affirmations, what I want to bring into the day, or just in life in general. But one thing I do forget is going to sleep, and because it's just that window is so short.
mhm.
Because I think that as you go to sleep, that's the part to where you just kind of fall asleep sometimes and you forget to do. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
easier for me to just wake up, even when I'm like not fully conscious. It's just an automatic thing for me to just start speaking affirmations over myself, or whatever the case may be, and then I might fall, whatever the case. But going to sleep is like one of the things I need to remember. But just putting it in a way to where you're saying those, basically those seeds are being planted into a garden. I love
Mhm.
the way that you put that, because now I'm like, okay, yeah, let me remember, let me get myself together.
Yeah. That's,
But that was I love the way that you put that.
hell yeah. That's like the most. That's like the most potent magic and spiritual activity that you can do, is to like literally like take these thoughts, certain thoughts. It could be two or three or five, whatever, right, into your sleep with you, because that's automatically going to. It creates the dream realm that you awaken in. It creates the stratosphere astrally that you can penetrate. You know what I'm saying? And it also creates your manifestations. You want to manifest something quick, literally take it into the dream, take it into your sleep state. It's gonna happen. Maybe not exactly, but in varying levels of accuracy, it will occur. You know what I'm saying? And it's a subset of doing dream yoga work, because lucid dreaming is basically, once you get over the fact that yo, I'm flying around in fucking Texas and shit like that. Lucid dreaming is actually you manipulating endocellular activities. That's actually what it is. And so if you have a life program of doing techniques like this, then even at the moment of death, this is a tool and a practice that you actually get to take with you. Now, there's not many things that you get to take with you, but building up a lifetime practice of lucid dreaming and being able to customize your experience, like you saying, like with what you want to manifest and how you want to show up in this world and the next, like that is, part and parcel with some of the most divine work that we can do. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to do with the ability for you to steer your vehicle. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's like because I do lucid dream, but usually it comes, or like, I mean, it comes randomly though. Like, one night I might just be like, but I know it'll come because usually it's when I'm getting a lot of crown chakra energy, and I'll go to sleep and it just be, I'm in a whole nother dimension, and it just feels like so real. But I mean, it's just like I love my dream state. I like, you know what I'm saying? It's just it gives me an idea of what I have going on internally, as well as what's to come or what I need to work on. You know what I'm saying? So I think that just having that in or just like having that relationship with your dream states, and like, writing down your dreams if necessary, or just paying attention to your dreams, and just, whatever is important. Because it just gives us that connection to ourselves in other ways. I guess if that's it, for lack of a better term.
That sounds on. That sounds on.
Yeah, but yeah, so we are at an hour and 12 minutes, and it's been such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. I guess before we close out, just go ahead and tell us where we can find you. Do you have any projects that you're working on, or anything like that? Let us know.
Yeah, so you can find the essence pfw.com. Also on my social media handles, which is Shri Neptune LoveWisdom on IG and TikTok, and also A Vegan's Paradise on IG and TikTok. And as far as projects, honestly, right now, I'm kind of taking decent amount of space to like just kind of work on my own healing and grieving process, because my mother passed, and just a lot of different stuff that I just need to reevaluate. But anyways, right? And also, let me not say anyways, and also I'm looking forward to a couple of projects that I'm going to be dropping, which is going to be like actual big events in the conscious community, because I have a need and a want to actually gather more people together with some actual high vibrational um, teachings and practices. I'm dropping a mentorship pretty soon in a couple of months. And I'm excited about that, because not only is it going to be like, just a healing journey, but I'm kind of also going to be like sharing ways in which people can grow their business to make six figures. And I'm not going to say easily, but there are simple formulas. So I'm very excited about that. And then also launching international retreats in the next couple of months as well too. So I'm really excited. And yeah, you can keep up to date with that on the socials that I mentioned, Shri Neptune Love Wisdom or A Vegan's Paradise.
Well, awesome. For one, I'm sending my condolences to you, and sending you lots of love and light. Again, I'm excited for what you have coming up. Let me know about the masterclass, because I will definitely be interested in that. With everyone I bring on here, I always want to, connect and, just continue to build. And again, you've done a lot, you're doing a lot, and, your presence is needed and it's honored. And I thank you so much for being here and tapping in with me tonight. I did also, for those who are watching, I did also pin your website, other social media accounts. So just in case you want to look out for those. Message him if you want any of his services or need any of his services. But other than that, thank you so much, Sri, for your time. I wish you a wonderful night. And for all that watch, thank you so much for tapping in. And we shall see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.